What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Movie Emporium's TV review of Snowpiercer Season 3, Episode 3, The First Blow. This episode is directed by Erica Watson. Now, before we begin, if you like this channel, awesome. Hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell at the top to find what's coming next. If you like this video, awesome. Hit that like button as well as commenting below on any video to watch, including this one. So, because I tried not to curse, I won't say what I really think of this episode, but I will say it in a non-cursing format as best I can. Holy crap. What an episode. This is the best episode of the season. It's up there with one of the best episodes of the series. And we still have 7 episodes to go, so that makes me really worried that the season's going to go way down after this episode. Why I worry? Because that's happened before. So, you know, I try to be optimistic, but Snowpiercer has been one of those series that has been really up and down quite a bit, especially in Season 2. I know a lot of people like Season 2 because of Sean Bean, and they feel it's much more of a progressive forward on the series, but I think overall, I think it was just a step down. That's just my honest opinion. But this episode is, in essence, a way to get both sections together into one storyline instead of having them always be separate at the throughout the entire season. They've decided in episode 3 just to say screw it, we're going to just go one storyline. This episode, for the most part, up until like the last, I want to say 25 minutes, probably half the episode is 2 storylines, so we'll focus on that and then we'll go into the straight storyline. But Snowpiercer is at first the least amount of stuff going on. They're basically trying to find a way to connect themselves onto Wilford, to kind of put a damper on Wilford and Big Alice and the cars and stuff like that. They sent out Josie to basically, put themselves connected into it by doing, they're basically in this trail yard. They're doing like a cat and mouse type of situation. And in essence, what happens is Wilford starts losing power. So they kind of slow down. They turn off the lights. And in essence, Snowpiercer can't find them, so what ends up happening, which I really like, is that Snowpiercer goes dark as well, and they just kind of wait it out until they can find a signal, until they can find Big Alice, all that good stuff. And it's just really just them trying to get back in so they can get like food, and they can like rescue their people, and they can kind of take over Big Alice to go to New Eden, which is on the Horn of Africa, which I found out after this episode. It's just it really is an interesting kind of way for the David versus Goliath situation to happen. David's of course trying to go up against 1,000 cars long and whatnot. I love it at the beginning of each episode, which I never talk about, but there's always a voiceover, and it's always a different character. And of course this week was Wilford, and he's talking about how he's going to do everything in his power to bring everyone together and take back over what he had in the beginning. And then they go like 11,000 or 1,140 cars long or something like that. I always like when they do that, because you get a little bit of mindset on who the character is, and you get a little bit of stuff on what the character does and how they operate. And this time it was Sean Bean, which has been never done before. So I thought that was kind of cool in its own aspect. But in essence, Asha is still having side effects from her, her being gone for so long, her being by herself. She wears the helmet and, as a safety device, I guess you could say, to keep her safe. And once Wilford, which I'll talk about more, but once Wilford uses harpoon on Snowpiercer, they have to disconnect some cars. They have, Asha's brought into Leighton's car, and she wants the lights turned off, and she wants just to keep her safe. But I thought that was interesting. I thought that was, it's going to be interesting to see, especially after what you see at the end of this episode. It's going to be interesting to see what Asha does later in the season, whether she is really what she is saying is a truth. She feels like she's having some serious PTSD problems, but I don't know if that's going to be something Wilford's going to use to his advantage to kind of play out later in the season. We'll find out. But Asha right now is a wild card, to be fairly honest. As much as she thanks Leighton for what he did, there's something about her, there's something that we've seen in the series before, where she's going to be one of those individuals that you're never going to be sure what she's going to do. She's like another character in this episode that we'll find out about in just a second. Asha is just a really interesting character that we'll see how she plays out. And that's pretty much it. Like I said, before I get into what happens with Snowpiercer and Big Alice, let's just say that it doesn't go well for Big Alice. So, and now going over to the Wilford stuff before everything like interconnects with one another. Wilford is, happy about the fact that there's going to be some kind of battle between the two, which I had a feeling there wasn't going to be anything super like war going on, because this is a show that has limits, fortunately, I'm guessing, in the budget, so they have to find a way to make it interesting without being like an all-out war and stuff like that. They kind of talk about it. Wilford brings Zara up to the front there, and he uses Zara as kind of a safety chess piece, where if Leighton and group were to attack Wilford, he would have her as kind of a bargaining chip in a lot of aspects, so holding her hostage in a lot of ways. And that's what he's kind of done to Zara. He's also done something to her baby, so we'll figure out what that is later on. And then on top of that, once they start having issues going through this rail yard, and of course Wilford, being who Wilford is trying to push as much power as he can to get out of this rail yard, to get free. But Javier keeps telling him, we don't have the power, we're losing power, and Wilford doesn't care. He's like, just do what you have to do it, don't question me and stuff like that. And I thought that was kind of, interesting, Wilford showing him, throwing out his, whatever. But on top of that, he allows Kevin to basically do whatever he needs to do to quash the rebellion that is going on in the train. For instance, we see Pike and the rest of the group, the rest of the rebellion, basically bringing canisters up to the front for whatever particular reason. And because Pike has become like the de facto leader of the group, he in essence is allowed to kind of go to see Ruth, and they just kind of, attack the jackboot, which will come into a later effect in a much disturbing scene. Pike goes back to Ruth. Ruth explains to him that there is a booklet up in the kind of the car that you can talk to the people on the train on Snowpiercer and Big Alice. Pike actually makes his way up to that car. I call it the speaker booth car, because it's just it's where you go to speak to the people. And he finds the New Year's Eve protocol book, which I didn't even think about what that meant. But in essence, because Snowpiercer can't find Wilford, and Wilford's going in the dark trying to get out of the scenario, Pike basically uses the protocol book to light up the sky for Snowpiercer. So in essence, they use fireworks is the best way to put it. Or actually, that's what it is. They use fireworks to give the position of Big Alice for Snowpiercer. And I thought that was clever. I thought that was a clever way to develop the way for Snowpiercer to retake Big Alice, is in essence fireworks. I'm like, that's genius thinking. That's the genius script writing, because, how do you make it unique and kind of cool, and kind of just like, how do we take the story forward in a kind of a cool fashion? And that's what they did, which I thought was pretty ingenious on the part of the storytellers. But yeah, so Snowpiercer knows where Big Alice is, and of course Wilford is not happy about this, because that means they're going to find him and there's going to be a lot of problems. And basically this leads to Kevin, who has probably 5 or 6 prisoners now. They're in the nightclub car, which of course is being run by LJ and John. Kevin wakes up LJ and John to come out because they're going to do a demonstration, because they need to clean up afterwards. And I believe the hose was used on Josie, if I remember right. It's the hose that basically you can put up to someone and freeze real quickly on the hand and stuff like that. Well, they have 5 prisoners, and one of them is this bearded guy, and they basically have frozen his hands with that tube, and are starting to crack off his fingers, which, is painful, of course. And it's Kevin and his jackboot people, so Kevin's doing probably the ultimate evil, the ultimate disturbing moment of his whole entire arc. But the guy decides he's not going to talk, so what does Kevin do? He grabs the tongue and freezes the tongue, and ends up killing him, as we see later on. But if there's one thing Snowpiercer is willing to do, it's be graphic sometimes, and this is pretty graphic. It really is. It's pretty disturbing. But they put the thing on his tongue and freezes. I was like, yep, we're having another one of those episodes, but it gets better later on if you watch the episode. So we'll finally get to the point where everything interconnects. Basically, the Big Alice is trying to move out of the junkyard field, and of course, Snowpiercer, getting kind of the idea of where Big Alice is, kind of rolls up in front of Big Alice, and Big Alice just runs out of energy and can't move any forward, and Big Alice is basically blocking them from moving. And Wilford and Leighton have a discussion about Wilford surrendering, and he'll give back Audrey, but they'll give him a car and they can go off and live on their own. In the process of everything, it's kind of a distraction for Leighton to get onto the train. That's what they're planning on, because they know Wilford won't do anything. But Wilford decides to stop the train whole, which would freeze everyone, and he's like, well, I'm gonna freeze everyone. And that's when he's shown Audrey, and that's when, he's like, I want Audrey back, and so on and so forth. And then Josie appears in front of the train with a cane, and she's starting, like bust out the window, which I thought was kind of interesting. But it's also, like I said, it's all a, distraction for Leighton, who basically finds himself behind Wilford on Big Alice, and he beats the ever-loving crap out of Wilford. Now, I thought that was awesome. I think, Sean Bean getting beaten up every once in a while is a good thing, because it's Sean Bean, and that's what he deserves every once in a while, especially playing the bad guy. And then he, after beating him up, he threatens to throw Wilford out the train, as well as Audrey, if basically Wilford doesn't succeed and doesn't give up the fact, or just doesn't wave the white flag, which is what Wilford does. He waves the white flag, he tells everybody to stand down, and Leighton and crew officially have taken back over the train of Big Alice's Snowpiercer. And I thought it was cool. Like I said, it's very typical storytelling for Snowpiercer. It's a back and forth kind of chess piece match going on. Like I said, we'll see how it goes in the next couple seasons, how far they go, and so on and so forth. But in essence, like I said, Wilford just tells the train, jackboots and people, even Kevin, to step down. And so that comes to the holy crap moment of this episode, where LJ basically is trying to calm down John, who's freaking out. He's like, we're going to get caught. We're going to get, arrested. We're probably going to be killed. LJ's like, you got to just work with me here. We'll figure out a way. She's like, she's an opportunist, where she will find any way to, grease the wheels of anybody that is in power. It's just who she is. She's that, that senator or whatever that kind of flops back and forth between sides. And in essence, what happens is she has something in her hand, and Kevin, who's like, this is an outrage, this is a travesty, she stabs Kevin in the throat in the most vicious way possible. And I'm like, oh crap, we're in the third episode, and Kevin, he's gone, he's dead. We thought he was dead before, and I don't see him coming back unless they save him. I don't see him coming back to the show. So I think that was the end for Kevin, and it's in the most brutal way possible, of the slicing the artery right there, which is very deadly, and blood squirting out and everything. Which, this is a show that is going to go there. Like I said, you watched the second to last episode of the last season of season 2, and it was not easy to watch. It was brutal. Kevin is no longer home alone. He's dead, and he was a character that kind of became a little cartoonish as these 3 episodes happened. He was a little over the top and silly, but I'm going to miss Kevin. I think he was a fun character. I think the actor playing him was fun, and he had his place on Snowpiercer, but not anymore. Snowpiercer's always been a movie or a show that is willing to take chances, and people you think will live won't live, and some people you think will die live. It's just that type of product. This way it's always been. But LJ, goes, long live the rebellion. She puts up her hand like that, and John looks on in horror of what she's done, but she has a smile on her face, so she, what she's trying to do. But in essence, the train kind of comes back to where it was in the beginning of season 2, with everybody having their own freedom. I think Leighton has learned from his mistakes, so he's trying to form it a little differently than what he did before. And in essence, Wilford is put into jail cell. Everybody's released. I think Bess goes to the prison train area, where they lock up the people in the bin things, where they put them to sleep. And we see Sam. We see a couple other people, and one of them unfortunately has been killed. So that's the unfortunate nature of everything. But it basically leads to kind of the end of the episode, where everything kind of comes to a head. And in essence, Leighton's going to give the train car, or the whole Big Alice Snowpiercer train, the option of what they want to do next. He's going to give them the vote. They are free. They're going to do what they feel is best, but he is going to do it in a manipulative way, which I was not really happy about. I'm not really happy about in the sense of like, oh God, they're going to go there again. They're going to make Leighton one of those individuals that is the rebellion leader, but he does kind of some little bit of slimy stuff that makes him like not a really great character. And he basically needs Asha to be the one to tell him that she's from this place called New Eden, or as we've learned is the Horn of Africa, where the blood dragon tree is. And he gets in the speaker car, talks to the people, explaining them, here we have what we found so far. Here's a place that we want to look at. It will be dangerous. It will be fraught with peril, but it might be our only option for survival, a place that's warm. And he brings in Asha to tell him a lie, basically, so they can vote. And he's like manipulating the vote, I guess you could say. And she really doesn't feel happy about it. Doesn't feel good about it. And then everybody votes. to go to the Horn of Africa. So that's where this season's heading, is to that location. But we know things are going to happen. Things are how they're going to play out. What's really interesting, though, about it is Melanie still hasn't arrived into the season, but she's in the trailer, or at least maybe that's some past footage from the trailer. So we'll see what happens with Melanie when she actually shows up in this series or the season, in this, third season. But, there's going to be a lot of interesting stuff. We still have 7 episodes to get to before, where I think they'll end up heading, which is towards that location. There will be, some marauders or, things that Wilford will manipulate. I don't know. It's just, there's a lot of questions up in the air because they went really quickly into Snowpiercer taking back over Big Alice, Wilford being put in jail, and where that leads, where the violence leads, who else is going to die, who's going to live. It's going to be kind of an anarchy type of season. It's going to be much more brutal, I think, than the second season. But I also think it's going to be a much more interesting dichotomy now, bringing in Asha and, bringing back some of the characters from the, second season that were put under because of Wilford. And we'll see how it ends up playing out and so on and so forth. But it pretty much ends with Asha in the library of Snowpiercer, the one where Audrey was being kept. And basically, that's the other thing. Audrey's being put in third class as a reminder of who she is. But anyways, so Asha's in the library. She's like breathing really hard. She has her mask on. She puts down the mask. What that means, I don't know. Like I said, she's a wild card at this point. We'll figure out later on if she's really going to stay stable with Leighton or she's going to turn. There's going to be some revelations that happen that we aren't learning, that there's some stuff that she's not telling Leighton and so on and so forth. So, but with that said, that is the episode. That is the first blow, the third episode of the season 3. I love this episode. There are some twists and turns I was not expecting. I didn't expect Kevin to die. I didn't expect Snowpiercer to take over Big Alice and Wilford to be put in jail so quickly. It's an episode that progresses the story forward in some interesting and new ways. It leaves open possibilities of, what could happen. And I just thought overall it was a great episode. It really was. It told a story well. It did some really interesting things and is willing to take chances for better or worse. What you guys think of the episode, I'll ask in the comments, but I think it's an episode that just really clicks and really shows that they're truly learning from season 2, that season 3 can be something truly special and make this series much more interesting and entertaining than even I was hoping for. So I really love this episode. I'm giving it a 9.5 out of 10. I just think a 9.5 out of 10 is just still makes it a perfect episode. That's just my honest opinion. So, but anyways, that'll do it. That'll be my take on Snowpiercer season 3, episode 3, which is the first blow. Thank you so much for watching. In the comments below, what did you think of the overall episode? Are you really excited for what's going on? Were you kind of like in shock by what happens in this episode? All that good stuff. But anyways, that'll do it. Thank you so much for watching. And if you like what you see on this channel, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell at the top of the fun's coming next. If you like this video, awesome. Hit that like button and we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out.